Hello everyone, welcome to IQ Math Analytics. In this video, we are going to see how to connect database means MySQL with Python, how I can manipulate all the work from Python to the database. So let me see here. First thing you want a basic libraries which is called NumPy, Pandas and so I'm just importing NumPy to making it a bit okay. Using NumPy as NP, importing Pandas as PD. So next is I want a connector. Let's say I'm importing PyMySQL, which is helping me to connect the Python with the SQL. Import PyMySQL. So I'm trying to load this. So all these three libraries are successfully compiled. Just you want to give the run button. Now next thing is if some people the PyMySQL will throw an error, so you want to go for a pip install PyMySQL. So next one is now we want to establish the relationship between the Python and SQL, MySQL database. I hope you know the credentials, how to take it means you want to go to the database, then you're able to get all the connecting credentials for that database. Now we want to establish the my connection first. So how I'm giving is, let's say, using PyMySQL dot connect. So just connect. The host is nothing but so host is nothing but you know already, which is the host name is directly here. I'm just copying this. I'm just pasting here. Next is what is my user? Just giving my user. User is we already know root, and then I'm giving my password to connect it, which is admin at 123. Yeah. So now I given the credentials. I'm trying to establish. Yeah, it's run successfully. Now next thing is I want a cursor to connect to run the program from here to there. So I'm establishing it. Its cur is equal to my connection dot cursor. I'm established the cursor is established between Python and the MySQL Workbench now. Now you can manipulate whatever the things you want from here itself. Let's say I want to create something. Let's say I'm giving cur dot execute. Whatever the code you want to execute into MySQL, you can do it here itself. Let's say what is the code to create a database? Let's say create database. I'm going to create a database called let's say corp no, students practice. Now if I execute this, it say it's one means it's true. Now we created the new database called student practice. If you see here in the database, I have only one database called YouTube. But if I refresh this now, if I refresh this now, I able to see the student practice here, right? How it is created, guys? I have not touched anything in MySQL Workbench. It is created directly from the Python. I hope you understood. We connected this using PyMySQL and we have given the credential to access my database. Then I established the cursor. From there, you can run whatever the code you want, which will replicate in the MySQL Workbench. Let's say this database is not having any tables. Table is empty here. Let me try to load a file and then from the Excel. Let's say I'm having this file in my local, this core prices. I'm going to load this into a Python and then I'm going to push it to database. So let's see how to load it means I'm right clicking this. I'm just show more properties. Then security, I'm just copying this. So I'm directly giving using pandas you can read pd dot read csv. So I'm just giving this. So I loaded this table from my local. This is Excel file I'm having with me, CSV file I'm having with me. I'm renaming it as df. Now I'm going to load this file into my database, into the database called student practice. So now I want to establish the connection again, because of right now I'm going to pass everything into my database called what? Database is created now. Hereafter, whatever the things I am doing, if the connection want to be to that database and Python. So I want to mention the database name now. It's student practice. Now the connection is established between particularly to that database and Python. Now whatever the operation you're doing here, which will be stored or effect into that database. Now yeah, it executed successfully. Again, I'm giving cursor. Now I want to create a table now, right? Because to store this data, I want some table into my database. So I'm creating from here itself. Let's say cur.execute. Let's say cur.execute. I'm creating, how to create table. Create table. First is table name. Let's say I'm giving car prices. Create table name. Next is you want to give ID one by one. Let's say what are the column name we have is, I will call the df dot head means top 5 rows will be displayed. Using this we can create, first is make, model, year, mileage, price, color and state. Now in make, what we want is we want varchar of 25. So model is nothing but it is also varchar. Okay, 20 also, anything you can give. See guys, if you're not able to understand this, you can please watch my previous recordings. We clearly mention what is my data type. Here is, we'll take it as an integer. Mileage is an integer. Price is also an integer. Color and state we can keep varchar of 10. State also I'm giving varchar of 10. Now I'm trying to execute this. So it throwing me an error. Cur.execute. Okay, create table name. So yes, you want to open the bracket. You want to close the bracket here. Oh, sorry. Instead of varchar, I char. Yeah. Yes, it executed successfully now. Now I'm checking into my database whether in the student, I'm refreshing it. I'm checking. Are able to see there is a table created in student practice database, which is holding the columns of make, model, year, mileage, price. So now we set up the platform. Table is ready. Now we want to push that uh, Excel file, that CSV file that we read into my Python into my workbench. Correct, everyone? Yep. Now listen how I'm doing. So we connected everything. We say we created a new table there. The thing we want to do now is, so let's say I'm giving, next step is I want to establish the relationship between, let's say I'm copying the code which is I'm already having. So we know to insert a values, we know this format, insert into which table, which is car prices. So what are the column names we have? What are the column names we have here? Which is, what are the column names? Make, model, year, mileage, price, color and state. Now for this values, see guys, now every time you want to pass this each and every rows inside, correct? This percentage yes denotes it will hold some value for each and every column. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So I'm removing the extra two things. So each and see, this is the way to insert the values into the table, right? We have seen insert into table name. So you want to pass what are the columns, and then you'll give values. Instead of this percentages, it want to have some, that row want to be fixed inside this row, correct? Yes or no? I want this row to be inside, then automatically each and every record will be inserted. Let me try how we can bring it up. So first thing is, before that I am trying to run this. I'm running this. DF is nothing but my data frame, which I loaded the table from my local Excel file. It's a CSV format. Now for I in range from 0 to length of DF, the loop will run. I'm trying to bring each and everything as a tuple format. Now if I see here, each and every row is perfectly working. See here, I converted this table into a tuple. So using ilog function, I'm taking each and every, I'm slicing using the index. So automatically each and every row will be displayed as a tuple. Now I want to fix this instead of this percentages. Automatically each and every value will load, right? SQL insert into core prices. This is the column values. In after the values, instead of percentages, I want this tuple to be executed. Am I right, everyone? Yes or no? So let me see how to execute that. It is very simple. Same code. Here we are running this in a loop, 0 to length of df. Cur.execute. SQL is nothing but we are storing this insert information. So from the insert information, what we are asking here is, then we are passing the conditions as tuple. So automatically all the percentage yes will be replaced with the tuple of df.ilog, which is nothing but we have seen here, right? Tuple of df.ilog will give you the all the data set in tuple. So we want to this cur.execute will execute the function into MySQL Workbench. What it will execute? This SQL function is holding insert into table name values, and then instead of percentages, it will replace this value, right? Instead of all the 7 percentages, it will replace this tuple. If you see here, 7 values is there. Each and every time the loop is running, it will go and replace the percentages. Automatically, this is committing means every time each row by row, it will load into your MySQL database. Let's say I'm running this. So it is saying that SQL is not defined. I'm defining this SQL and then I'm trying to load it now. Yes, it executed successfully. It means the loop run, and every time it pushing the each and every row as a tuple into the database called what? The database called what? What is the database name? Core prices. So it's a table name. Database name is student practice. Now let I see here whether it is created or not. I'm refreshing it again. I'm trying to run the code like I'm going to use the database of student practice. Now I'm trying to select star from, I'm using it as a core prices. That is my table name. Are you able to see here, guys? Inside the database of student practice, we have a table called core prices, which we successfully created using the Python. Everything is created using Python. The database is also created using Python. The table is also loaded from local file and it is pushed to SQL to the database using Python. So everything happened using Python. Now we will see, is it possible to read the file from Python? Yes, it is very easy. So let's say I'm establish the connection. So if in the pandas we have a function called read SQL query, pd.read SQL query. Pd.read SQL query, you can pass whatever the code you want. Let's say select star from car prices. Let's say from the my connection, because in the connection only we established the database with Python, right? Are you able to see here, guys? This is taking the information directly from the database. You can write any SQL queries you want. If you see here, pd.read SQL query. Let's say I'm using pd.select star from core prices where age is greater than the, I'm using subquery here. Select average of age from core prices. 1 minute. Sorry, this I finished. 1 minute. So I opened here and I closed here. So again, okay, I will open and close it again. So 1 minute, I don't know why it is throwing error. So when we are giving this individually, it is running properly. Yeah, it is giving me the output. Select sort from core prices where age is greater than, select average of, oh sorry, we are not having a column called age, right? Select average of price from core prices. Yes. So instead of age, you want to use price. Yeah, now it is working. Are you able to see here? I'm running a query inside which is directly executing into the my connection, which is my connection is nothing but a connection we established as database student price, student practice. This is nothing but the Python on the database connect. Whatever the query you want to run from that database to access the table inside that database, you can use pd.read SQL query, which is nothing but in pandas we have an inbuilt function called read SQL query, which will directly read the file. And then guys, this is the way you need to connect. So just a summary, very simple. First you are importing the libraries, then we are giving the credentials. Before giving, like first time I'm not giving the database because I want to create from here. So then I'm establishing the cursor. By using it, I'm executing, I'm creating a database called student practice. Once it created, I'm reading the CSV file from here, and then I'm trying to push this file into my MySQL Workbench using Python. So next time once the database is created, then again I'm re-establishing my connection, indicating my database. So whatever the work I'm doing here, it will be get stored in this database particularly. Again I'm reiterating the cursor. Now I'm executing, I'm creating a table here. Once the table is created, I want to insert some values into it. This is very similar syntax in SQL, but instead of giving values, I'm using percentage just to store some for future reference. Then I'm running this complete data set in a loop. So while converting into a loop, I'm using tuple. So each and every time when the loop is executing, I'm running the SQL syntax, which is nothing but insert into table name. So for all the values, it will take tuple informations. Next, then I'm giving mysql.commit. It's kind of a save button. So every time the loop is running, each and every row will get inserted one by one to the MySQL workbench. So now it is pd.read SQL query means which is to read that data which is stored in that database. Using Python means we can use this function called read SQL query. Whatever the database you connected in my connection, you can read all the tables using this read SQL query. You can pause the whatever the queries you want. So I also tried one subquery which is perfectly working. So this is the way to connect Python with your database, and in both way we created a table from here to there, and also we read the table from there to here. So this is the way guys. I hope you understood. It is very simple. So you want to understand the basic idea of pandas and numpy, and this is the common library to connect Python with MySQL. Let's say if you're using snowflakes, you will have a snowflake connector. Each and every database will have different library, so which is helpful to connect that database with Python. For MySQL Workbench, it is PyMySQL. For SQL Server, it will be some other thing. For Snowflakes, it will be Snowflake connector. Like that, it will be differ for each and every databases. I hope you understood. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks everyone.